Hello and welcome to Diane Tom's Creations. Today we're going to talk about different types of findings that you will use in your bead creations. In previous videos, I've talked about I think two types of findings, that is your ear wires or ear tops and the clasps or closures that you will use when you've made up a necklace or a bracelet. You need to close it, so there are different types of catches and closures that you can use for that. There's a video for that. I'll put it under this one. I'll put the link under this one. And I also talked about ear wires, different types of ear wires that you can use, and ear tops. But today I want to talk about other types of findings that you will probably find very useful in your beadings. Now, to start with, I want to talk about bead spacers. Now, to me, bead spacers come in two different forms. I just want to mention that in my videos, I give the ideas that I use that are useful to me. It's not a hard and fast rule, but things that are useful to me or things that I gathered along the way. So talking about bead spacers, I have two types of bead spacers. Now, when you have a creation perhaps that has multiple rows of beads, you'd like them to sit properly and not sit on top of one another. So what we do to keep them from sitting on top of another is using what we call a bead spacer. Now, if you look at this design, you can see along the line it's got 5 rows, and I don't want them to sit on top of one another, so I use what we call a bead spacer. And that bead spacer, what it does is that it just keeps the rows of your beads in line. Here I use another type of bead spacer, and I used it in a decorative way. I'll show you the complete piece when we finish. So bead spacers like these are used to keep the rows of your beads in line. You can see they've got many holes. So when you thread your beads and you put this in, you can use as many holes as you like for one row. If the bead is big, you might use three. You might put it through one hole, but it will take up 3 holes. And so it will guard where you will put the next row of beads. Now, I like these because you can cut them to any length you want. They're quite long. You can cut them to any length you want. They both come in they come in gold and silver as well. This is another type of bead spacer. This is what I call the decorative type of bead spacer. That's like the one I used in the design I just showed you, but this is the gold color. This is also another type of bead spacer. It's a decorative one. You can see they've all got holes. You don't have to use, depending on the size of the beads, you don't have to use all the holes. But if your beads are tiny, you can use each one. It will just keep your rows neat. So this is a stone studded one. It's studded with cubic zirconia, so this is a little bit expensive one. You've also got these plain ones. They come in different sizes as well. You can see that this is for 3 holes and this is for 5. So depending on the size of your beads, you can also use these. They come in different colors as well. This is another type, and this is what I call the decorative one. You can see the number of holes it has. It comes in different colors as well. You've got a hole here, you've got another one in the middle, so you can have different types. If you want to use the middle holes, you can. If you want to use the outer ones, you can. If you want to use all, you can. It just depends. It means perhaps you'll be using different sizes of beads. If you want to put beads in the middle, you can. So it's a decorative spacer. Now this is another type. It's also a bead spacer because you will probably bead this up as well, depending on what you want to do, or put on a cabochon. It depends on you. And then space your beads out along these using these links here. So those are for bead spacers. Now these two, I use them as what I call bead spacers. That brings me to the second type of bead spacers, another idea that I call bead spacers. Now when you're beading and you perhaps want to space out the beads that you have, or in your creation somehow you feel that the beads don't look nice sitting next to each other, so what you can do is to space them out with different things. This I use as a bead spacer, spaces out beads as you like. This also is a bead spacer. This also is another type of bead spacer where you can just put it at the beginning of your bead or the end of your bead, just to give you a little space. It depends on what your design is really, but those are ways we use bead spacers. Another idea that I use is that I use a lot of balls. These are gold layered balls, and gold layered because to me it lasts much longer than gold plated. So these are gold layered balls. I refer to them as GL balls. So I use them in different sizes to space out my beads depending on what the design is. So that's for bead spacers. The next one I want to talk about are oh sorry, there's one more on this one, and that is the strand reducers. Now as you bead, let's say you're beading like the design I have here. In the front I've got 3 thick rows, and I want to take them up to maybe just 1 row from here. So I'll probably use something like this, where you can see 1 2 3, we've got 5 rows. Say you're coming with five rows of beads and you decide you want to take it to 1. So you can use this. This is what we call a strand reducer. It reduces your strands to 1. Sometimes you can have them reducing it to 2. It depends. Or you can use it the other way around, and then from 1 strand you can go to 5. It depends on your creation. You have to be creative in whatever you have to use. Then we want to talk about our head pins and eye pins. Now head pins are the pins you use for your beads. Probably if you want to make you're making an earring, or I want to add pieces together, you use your head pin. Now the difference between this head pin is that once you use a head pin, it's a head pin because either it's got a flat surface, or it's got a round surface, or a hat, or a decorative surface. But what it means is that it goes nowhere. Once you've used this, you can't add anything to it. So those are your head pins. Now if you want to add something to it, then you probably use what we call an eye pin. An eye pin is just like a head pin, but it has a hook which you can open here and add your dangle. So if I want to add a dangle onto this, I will use an eye pin, do the dangle, open it, and put the dangle here. So that is your eye pin. You have some head pins just are decorative. You can see this one has a stone. It has a stone at the end. So there are different types of head pins and different sizes and different, this is a smaller one, and different thicknesses. So it depends on your creation. Now we also have rings. We have your split ring, which you can use to add a design. Split ring because you can open and close it. For instance, if you want to add something to your eye pin, you can just use this and add something else and then close it. It depends on what you're doing. So those are very useful. You've also got your closed rings. These closed rings don't go anywhere. they're closed. So you can't open them, you can't close them. They're just like that. But they have their uses. So it depends on what you need at that particular time. These come in useful as well. You can also use these as part of your closure. The end of when you have a lobster clasp or so, you can just add it to the end of your lobster clasp, just like this. I'm just using this as an example. That's your clasp, and this is too big for it, but then, and that's your closure. So this will be one side, this will be the other side, and it won't come off because it's closed. It won't stretch. It won't fall off at all because it's closed. So that's one use of your closed rings. The other type of ring we have are split rings. These split rings are coils, about 2 coils or so, and we call them split rings because you can see they've got openings on both sides. This is one side, I hope you can see that, and then this is the other side. They've got openings on both sides, so those are split rings. These make your additions to your beading more secure, so these two you can use. Then I've also got bails. You've got types. These are pinch bails. You put this into your bead, open it wide enough, put one hook here and one hook here, and press it. You've got your slider where you can add whatever decoration you have here and just slide it onto your thread. This is another type of bail. It's like a slider, but you open it this way and add what you want to add and then close it. So those are another type of finding that you will find useful. Then we've got our end caps and bead caps. They come in different types, different sizes. I added these ones. They're loose side, but they come in handy sometimes, especially when you're making bracelets or things like that. So these you just add to your bead to make whatever design you want to. You want to embellish your bead. If you want to embellish your bead a bit, you can add these. Or you can also use them as strand reducers. If you're beading like 6 rows and you want to reduce it to 1, if they're tiny enough, you can fit them here and then reduce your beading just to 1. So this is one type. There's another, these tiny ones. For instance, this is the bead cap here. This is the bead cap on the top, but this time I turned it upside down just to give it a little more to embellish it in a different way. And this is my bail. I was making a pendant, so this is my bail. When I finished the pendant, I hooked it onto this as my pendant. So now those are for these are bead cones. They're known as bead cones. There are different types. This is another one. This is a decorative one. You can see the back, it's like a leaf. This is a small one, small bead cap. You've got different types that you can use to embellish your jewelry. And then the last one I want to talk about are filigree. Now filigree to me comes in different, you can use them for different things. You can use them as connectors in your beading. You can bead from this end, you can bead from this end. This one you can bead from each end here, depending on your creation. You can do so many. You can bead on top because they've got so many holes, so they're very useful. This is another type of filigree bead that you can use. All these are beads that you can use as spacers, or you can use as connectors, depending on what you want to use them for and what your design is all about. These also could be used as spacers. You can put them in your design in any way you like. The embellishments, these are not filigree, these are the filigree, but these are embellishments that you can use as bead spacers in your beading as well, your bead stringing. So there are different things that you can use and these are some of them that I have to use as your findings. Now, findings come in different colors, different types, and different forms: plated, gold, field, and so on. It depends on whatever your creation is about. You decide what you want to buy, what you want to use, and how you want to use it. So that is what we mean by being creative and making a creation. So that is what I have for you today, and the next series I'll have will be next week, Friday. Thank you so much for listening. Subscribe to our channel, and subscribe to our channel so that you'll be aware of new videos that come out, and welcome any tips or comments. It's all in the endeavor to help people along the line. So if you have any other ideas or tricks or other types things that you can use these for, any other ways you can use them, we are welcome to your comments. So please put your comments below, and thank you, and I'll see you next week. Bye.